All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Sportsman. We've got Joey D, we've got the Jet, and we're here to talk sports. We finally have something to talk about. We've got some March Madness, we've got some NFL free agency, but we're going to start with the players. Rory
Yeah.
McIlroy beating out JJ Spawn. He didn't even really have to do much to beat him out, but he did beat him out in a playoff on Monday, just yesterday. But it was a pretty good tournament overall. I mean, a lot of guys up at the top of the leaderboard. What'd you guys think? Jet, let's start with you.
Well, I mean, this was one that, pre-tournament, Bob and
I thought you said Joe too for a second. I
Oh,
wasn't.
you did?
I
I
thought
said
he
wasn't
said
Jet.
sure.
Joe.
I
Oh,
knew there was like there. I
It
wasn't
sounded
sure.
like Joe.
It did
So,
sound like Joe.
all right, Joe. Why don't you kick us
That was
off?
good.
this was the Players is always a fun tournament to watch. I will say that it's arguably one of the best non-major tournaments of the year. But this one we watched, at least I did watch even closely. We were there all week, leading up to it. Perez played in the Creator Classic, which was amazing. So we really were up close and personal with the course, playing, on each hole. You got a distinct vibe for how the course was playing. And then, we had a pre-tournament bet on JJ Spawn to win it all, which very rarely you have a plus 10,000 leading the tournament going into the Sunday and having a putt to win it on the Sunday on 18. So I was kind of dialed in for this tournament. I thought it was unbelievable. The field was great. The weather in the weekend, the wind was crazy. It really affected a lot of players that made the course play even harder than it is. And I thought it was a great tournament through and through. The fact that it went to a playoff that finished on Monday, just an awesome tournament. And Rory gets another win, which, you felt like he was gunning for it on the Sunday when he just started out with that eagle and then coming out three under essentially through the first two holes. I was like, oh my God, this guy is going to be a problem. And he was. But a great tournament overall. I don't know how much you guys watched. I watched a ton of it. I thought it was awesome. And the only thing that sucked was a 4 hour weather delay. Obviously, that
Yeah.
was not ideal, but all through and through, I thought the tournament was awesome.
Jet?
Yeah, I mean, I think that TPC Sawgrass is like the perfect golf course when it's in like the good conditions. Like every hole has. Listen, we were there, months prior. It wasn't as beautiful, but every like the par fives are crazy in the sense that you can go for them in two, but if you miss them, you're gonna maybe walk away with a six. There's water everywhere. The closing holes, the three closing holes are amazing. It's just I think it's a perfect golf course. And then I thought after the rain delay on Sunday, it was over. Because once Rory came out, he threw a dart, he made a birdie, he went up two, Spawn made a bogey, and it was over. And then in golf, it's just crazy. These guys come back every Sunday. It's never over. And how dumb are we to not hedge our JJ
Oh,
I know.
on Monday going up against the greatest golfer of our generation against JJ Spawn, who's a good golfer, but he's won one time on tour at Sawgrass, and Rory walks out there in the first hole, rips one down the fairway, it's over. And I was like,
I
oh my
I
God.
said to Nicole, as
I
soon as he
know.
hit that first drive, I'm like, we're fucked, we're
Oh,
done.
it was
Because
over.
it
Yeah.
was so perfect that you knew he was getting on into. You knew he was going to either eagle or birdie that hole. And Spawn had to be shitting himself. He looked so nervous.
Yeah.
And that's just a classic case, Jen, of us trying to get like better money. I just thought Rory did not drive the ball well this week, which is crazy because he still won the tournament. But his driving percentage was like 48% hitting fairways. So I was thinking maybe he goes a little wayward, puts one in the pine straw. And JJ Spawn had been hitting fairway after fairway. So I did think that like after that first series of tee shots, maybe we'd get a better line. But it was minus 160. I should have just hammered Rory to win and walk out no matter what happens with money. But
Well, I got in on this bet a Saturday morning, so I didn't get the plus 10,000
Me
odds, but I
too. Me
got
too.
plus 1,000 is where I got it at. And I mean, the second he on Sunday on 18, when he was about a rotation and a half away from making that, to win it, that was when it was over. So, I mean, yeah, then Rory was at minus 160 on DraftKings. And then the second I was looking, Bob and I were talking, the second they hit those drives, it went to minus
yeah,
225 and it was far too gone. You had to do it before they even started. And JJ, I mean, I didn't talk to a single person who thought he had a shot. I mean, We all knew it, and none of us hedged.
To be
That's on
honest,
us.
minus
On
160
us.
was pretty good
Yeah, it was.
value for the
It
fact
was.
that like Rory was such a big, such a big
Yeah.
favorite, and Spawn had never even been in a playoff before. Next
Yeah.
day, cold, weather conditions, windy as shit. I mean, it was. I look back now and I was like, what the hell? I almost hit it a couple times, and I was like, no, I'll hold off because we had stood. Jet, correct me if I'm wrong. We had stood like firm like the whole way through, and it had worked to our advantage. Rory almost lipped out on 18 on Sunday, and then JJ Spawn comes within 2 inches of finishing it.
Yeah.
And you know what? The
That's how
Cinderella
it
story
goes,
had to
man, with
end at some
golf.
point.
That's the thing with golf, though. Like minus 160, while it doesn't seem like a lot, it's like Rory could have hit a ball in the water on 17, or he could have.
Yeah.
It like anything can happen out there, and even the best guys in the world make bad shots. To me, though, in a moment when you have like a 3-hole playoff, there's more that comes into play than golf in terms of like the nerves, like more than any other sport. And you have JJ Spawn, who's never been in this situation in his life, going up against the best golfer we got. So, and a guy who's won majors and been there a million times, and the nerves I don't think are there as much. So
He looked very calm.
yeah, he did, and I think it was just out of respect we wrote it out, and out of respect we crashed and burned.
Well, the good thing that I feel at least is I only lost a $50 bet, right? Like, so at the end of the day, it's like
Me
it
too.
could have been a lot worse if it could have been a lot worse if you had a lot on it. I feel like at
Yeah.
least it was like if you told me ticket, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is how I feel. If you told me I could pick a plus 10,000 favorite before every tournament for $50 and lose every tournament, the amount of value and entertainment that I got out of that $150 bet to me is I'm fine with that. Like I had a lot
Yeah.
of fun on that $50. So like at the end of the day, it is what it is. I came within 2 inches of winning 5 grand. It wasn't meant to be.
But that's what makes this one so special is those plus 10,000 guys. That's once a year that happens where you actually take them before Thursday or on Thursday morning, and then they're there on Sunday and then go to a playoff. That doesn't happen often.
Bob's been
So
hot, man. He gave
he has.
Morikawa last tournament, who crashed and burned on the Sunday, and he gave JJ Spawn this one. So, moral of the story is just ride Bob's picks until the last day, and then hedge the shit out of whoever is right
And
behind.
he gave Akshay too, who was there the whole, pretty much the whole way as well. Just on Sunday, just couldn't get it together.
Bob has been seeing the field very well. I'll say that, and I'll say
Yeah.
that all. Jed, I want to ask you before we move on, with how Rory's played now. He's won the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, AT&T, and now he just won the Players. Masters is right around the corner. Like, do you think?
I do.
Like, I know in his head he's killed himself since 2011, since he had that lead. Do you think he's got to be the front runner to win this thing this year?
Yeah, I mean, him and Scotty are going to be the two favorites. Rory has not won a major in something like 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
Holy
Yet
shit.
he's still always, and rightfully so, he's always one of the top 2 or 3 favorites to win these majors because he's just so good. He's never had a down time in his career, ever. He's never been like, you see guys now, there are some guys who are falling off, that are at the bottom of the leaderboards. And Rory has never had a down time.
There was that period though, after he won the last major that he won. There was a couple years there where he was nowhere to be seen. But he came back. Yeah,
He
yeah.
always is in the money like that. Even that
But I'm
one
saying
year
he's
on the
always making
FedEx.
cuts. He's
on the
never been a
FedEx.
guy
Yeah,
like
the last 7 years for sure. But there was a period there, a couple years where he was
and even
not
in the majors
around.
recently, he's
2015.
finished in the Masters second. He's
Yeah.
finished in the PGA second.
He
He's
had that one
US
day
Open
where he
second.
finished.
He's
Was it the Masters that
always
one day he went off on the
dunked
last day?
in.
He
Him
was
and
the top 10.
Morikawa dunked in on 18. They for second place. My point is though, he's in such good form, and I just think it's the time is right for him to do it. It's difficult to win the Masters, and there's a lot of guys who, Scotty Scheffler is, still going to be favored, but I think Rory's going to win the Masters. Yeah.
You do.
Yeah.
Wow.
I saw a statistic today where after yesterday's win, he's now second to Tiger in overall winnings. I think he's at like $99 million throughout his career in earned winnings. I mean, goes to show the guy has won what 27 times or something ridiculous.
PGA
Like,
Tour, yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. He's definitely probably, I would say without a question now, the best golfer of this generation that we've watched. Scotty's going to have a long way to go to get there, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Don't
I
sleep
mean,
on Scotty either for the
well,
Masters. I
also
mean, he's going to make a push there too.
Brooks Koepka
Yeah.
has 5 majors, doesn't he?
yeah. But the
He's
problem
got
with
more,
Brooks is
correct. No, I know,
he'd
but he
be
has more
nowhere to
majors
be
than
seen, and
Rory.
then he would just focus on winning the
Got
majors.
more majors than Rory.
I
Which is
Yeah,
very
I mean
impressive.
the amount of tournaments that Rory's won, I feel like you got to give him the nod. But yeah, Brooks is the kind of guy who you wouldn't see him anywhere for tournaments, and then all of a sudden the PGA Championship would come up and he would be fucking right there to win. So
It's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
it makes for an exciting time for the Masters. I think it's going to be an awesome field.
Yeah. Rory's won what? Something like 27 PGA
I think
events?
27, 28 now.
28 now? Yeah.
He's won a bunch of European events. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. One more thing before we move on to college basketball. Quickly, friend of the program, Keegan Bradley got a hole in one on 13, I think on
Again.
Saturday. I think it was Saturday. Maybe it was Sunday. Pretty impressive stuff. Anything there, Joe?
Well, I think this is the second tournament now in the last 3 or 4 that he's got an ace. And he's trending upwards. I mean, he had that round in this last tournament where he shot what, eight under? Eight under was like one of the best like finishes. Where was that, Jet? Where he
Bay
did that?
Hill.
Bay Hill, yeah. Arnold Palmer at Bay Hill
Yeah.
tied the top front nine record at 29. So he's trending upwards. He's starting to play really good. Definitely would have some value in some of these upcoming tournaments, top 20, top 10 even. Like, I feel like he's right there. He's just got to find a couple more rounds to put it together. But yeah, we love to see him succeed, and guys just dunking him right now. It's good. It's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, it is. All right, let's move on to college basketball, March Madness, bracket season. We've got the 16s and 11 seeds still to play in both today and tomorrow, but then to come Thursday, we get rip roaring into one of the best weekends all year long.
It's here, boys.
So our number 1 seeds are Auburn, Duke, Houston, and Florida. Jet, any discrepancies with snubs, guys who got in, any seeding issues? What do you think?
The only snub I had, and I didn't see too much of it because it was during the players, and then like right after the players ended, they were talking March Madness. UNC making the tournament to me is a little crazy. Now I'm happy they made the tournament because that kid blew it for them in the ACC, championship or whatever.
Whole lane violation
with the lane violation. So I'm glad like he doesn't, at least they made the tournament, so they can't like pin that on this kid. But I thought Indiana could have made it over them. I just didn't. Also, and then to see that their like athletic director is like the chairman of the NCAA tournament selection committee, and you're like, okay, like that. It was a little. Also, Louisville is an 8 seed. Like I don't know.
They're pretty good though, Jeff.
No, but even no. I'm saying they should be higher. They should be.
Yeah. I was going to say they're
Louisville had one of the best years
ever,
best turnarounds. They were ranked. They're an 8 seed out of because they're and with no just because they're not getting the respect. I also think Auburn deserves.
How about Kansas being a 7 seed? They were terrible.
Oh yeah, Kansas, they can't catch the ball. What's it called? No, what was it? Oh, Auburn being a 1 seed is great, but they are to me the team. They're not going to make it out of the Sweet 16. They've been overrated all year. And I just think that they're the 1 seed that's going to take a bust. Florida is the greatest basketball team of all time out of nowhere. They were okay, solid all year. They beat good
really
teams ever.
good, man.
And then I think their centers went from like 7-3 to 7-11 mid-season because it's insane. Did you see that clip of him? He didn't even take the ladder to cut the nets. He just cut it standing under it. It's out of control.
They manhandled Tennessee the other day.
They beat everyone. They beat Bama twice. They're fucking good, man.
I
say this team I'm rooting for is St. John's. I'd love to see St. John's go all the way.
Yeah, I like St. John's, but they're in Florida's bracket, so I just don't. I got Florida going as one of the.
They play unlike any other team. Like teams are not ready for them.
St. John's plays good defense. I will say that.
It's fun to watch.
Do you have any other like sleeper teams that you're looking at? I tell you who I like.
I got to do a little more research. I'm going to come up with my first round upsets real short.
Yeah, you are, and it's going to be a 3-point team. They're going to have some lethal outside shooting.
I got to look at some stats. I actually went to look at the top 3-point shooting like percentages. teams to start going down. And I was trying to find teams in there that are in the tournament. So we'll see. I got to get some research done fast though, because it's coming
I
up.
tell you who I have going a little far is UCLA. It's a 7 seed.
Yeah, you
I
do.
like them a lot, dude. I
Yeah, you
also
do.
I love Texas A&M. I really do. They play hard on the boards. They're one of the best offensive board teams. And their point guard, if he gets hot,
I think
which is a big if
I
he
think
gets hot, they're a problem.
I think they're gonna lose in the first round. Who are they playing again?
Utah
Oh
State.
no.
Oh,
You
Utah
think they're
State.
gonna lose
Oh,
in the
so maybe not.
first
There was
round?
one team I saw where I was like, oh, that's got upset
No,
Well,
results.
they
but
play Texas A&M plays Yale in
oh,
the
I think you're
first
talking
round.
about
Yale,
UCLA.
Yale,
Oh,
Yale,
yeah, yeah,
Yale.
yeah.
That's a problem.
Oh
That's a
my
problem.
God.
That's
Yeah.
the
Come
one.
on.
That's the
That's
one.
the one.
Well, you got to watch out for those Ivy League teams.
Well,
They
shoot
always
the
make
three
some
Louisville.
well.
noise.
Pop, they shoot the three well.
They do.
Louisville is another
They
team
do.
who's very like Jet, you're talking about them. Louisville is very strong as well. And they're what, an
Yeah, but
eight
it's
seed?
so unfair to make them an 8 seed because then
Well, they play Creighton first round.
essentially play a toss up in round one, and then you got to play the number 1 seed in round two. It's just they got banged.
What do
Absolutely.
you guys think about Duke? I don't know how
Love,
hurt Cooper
love them.
Flag is. Do you think they're going to make
I
a
do.
I
strong
think
push?
they're my team to win it all, yeah, especially if he's 100%.
I
Yeah.
like Alabama coming out of that conference, to be
Duke
honest.
has another guy. They got this point guard who doesn't get a lot of the
Another white kid.
No, Knipple. I don't know
Oh
if
yeah,
it's Connor. They call him Con. The guy is unbelievable.
the con man.
It's like I think it's KON. He's unreal, and he obviously Flag gets all the credit, but Duke's got him.
Well, Flag was leading them in steals,
of course,
rebounds,
Everything,
points,
yeah.
player,
assists.
but
blocks,
this guy is
every
like a
category.
big guard. He gets in the paint. They got that kid Proctor, and then they have that James. They're a good team, and I think they're gonna do something.
Out of the 4 and 1 seeds, you think Auburn's the weakest?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like.
Okay.
I talking about 1 seeds. I think Houston.
They're the
Houston
most
is.
overrated.
Houston offensively is not great, but they play great defense as well, and that could be, you know.
So
would
would you guys take the 1 seeds or the field to win this tournament? Would you take the rest of the field or the 4 1 seeds?
Taking the ones.
Okay, Joey D.
I like Florida a lot, man, but I mean, you're going to give me the rest of the field aside from 4 1 seeds. Give me the rest of the field.
Wow. Okay.
There's teams out there like
I mean,
Alabama. Alabama, if Mark Sears and the boys get hot, man, they can put up 1 billion points, even if you do play good defense. I mean, like sometimes it comes to a shootout, and if you can't keep up with the team that's getting hot from 3-point range, like Jed said, it could be a long day. Auburn is a team that I could see they've struggled going out, coming to the finish line before this tournament. Houston doesn't score a lot of points. Florida, I think, is probably one of the most well-rounded teams. And then Duke, it really depends. If Cooper Flag is bummed up and not 100%, I mean, they could be taken out too. So it's going to be fun to watch, though, boys.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. So overall, if you had to take one team, Jed, are you taking Duke?
Yes.
Okay. Joe, you taking Florida?
Yeah, I would take Florida. I think I would go Florida. But I like Alabama a lot, and I like
you like that
like
Sears kid a lot, don't you? I mean, he's incredible. I know. I watched him a little bit the last couple months. He's a wild guy, man.
He fucked me in the game recently on a buzzer beater shot at me. The guy's just unreal.
You bet enough against Alabama. He's gonna fuck you. He will fuck you. I'm going to take St. John's. All right. Joe, are you filling out a bracket? Are you a bracket guy?
I think we should do a bracket amongst all our group and like put like maybe $50 a head just to kind of make it fun.
Problem is getting us together to really do it,
Well, no,
tracking us down.
You do it online. You just send a link and you do it online.
No, I know, but like getting, everyone to sit down at their laptop and actually get it in on time. I mean, I just can't imagine we can get that together in a couple days.
I mean, I would like to think that somebody could you do it right from your phone. It takes about 10 minutes.
I know.
I actually think we should do a bracket, even if it's just a Sportsman, and like see who comes the furthest. Have Mr. Anderson do one too.
Sure. Okay. All right, let's now jump into NFL free agency. Some notable moves. First, let's talk DK Metcalf, Steelers are starting to turn things around on offense there. What do you guys think?
I'd be interested to see how he's going to work alongside Pickens, because both of those guys have a pretty much like me first attitude. And I don't know. I mean, they're both elite athletes. Not sure how that's going to work. I mean, we still don't even know who's going to be playing quarterback for the
Yeah.
Pittsburgh Steelers. And I think that that's the biggest question mark right now. Is it going to be Aaron Rodgers? Is it going to be
Hmm.
Justin Fields? Is it, well, not Justin Fields. Who's it going to be? You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. Are they going to bring, I don't know who they're going to bring. Is Russell Wilson going to be there? I don't know. So some people are saying Russ is going to move. I really don't know. So I think that they got to sort that out first and foremost. But hey, they got some weapons now. Freiermuth is a better tight end in the league.
As far as their quarterback goes, Penix to Metcalf seems to think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. Thinks Aaron Rodgers is going to be the guy there in Pittsburgh.
Uh-huh.
What
Yeah.
do you guys think of that? That's the bigger question mark than DK
The
Metcalf.
what the question the
Well, if
quarterback
Aaron Rodgers
situation?
takes do you think Aaron is capable of like putting together a good season? I mean, last year he looked terrible.
He did. But you know what? What people want to dismiss is by the end of the year, he started playing pretty well. The Jets were just so far out of contention that no one was paying attention anymore. And I'm not saying he was playing as good as Josh Allen or anything, or even close to the old Aaron Rodgers, but he played considerably better the more he started to trust that Achilles and the more familiar he got with the offense. So I don't think he's going to be as bad as the guy we saw the first 8 weeks. But do I think he's going to be much better than what they had last year? I don't know how much is left
Team,
there.
a team with Aaron Rodgers, fucking George Pickens, and DK Metcalf, that
Oh my.
offense, the amount of fucking shouting matches that are going to happen is going to be, or like dirty looks that you're going to get. Now,
Yeah.
I don't really know. Do they have a good O line? Because that determines a whole lot of that. But I
Yeah,
don't
he
know.
needs time in the pocket. That's what he needs more than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't
Yeah.
have mobility anymore. I mean, after that Achilles, I mean, he just can't move around. I mean, that really was the key to Aaron Rodgers being so good for so many years. His ability to throw on the run, escape, move around the pocket and like just be able to navigate downfield while running. I mean, that's what made him such a threat. The fact now that he's not nearly or even remotely as mobile as he was before, it kind of eliminates part of his game that was so dynamic, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, another guy on the move is Devontae Adams going to the Rams. Is that going to help them much, or is Matt Stafford now becoming a bit of an Aaron Rodgers where can he make much of a difference? Is there anything you could surround Matt Stafford with where he's got enough in the tank to win something?
I
Or
think so. They almost want. I mean, they almost
You're right there.
yeah. Did they beat? Who did they beat
They
before?
were against the Eagles. They're
They
one
beat
drive away from
they
fucking.
beat
it's a
somebody, right?
snowball, but yes.
They
Yeah,
beat
they
Well,
beat
I
someone.
understand.
who did they beat before?
I know. Who did they beat? Did they beat the Texans maybe
No, they
or
beat the Vikings.
No,
the
the
Vikings?
Vikings.
Yeah,
They
They
yeah, yeah.
right.
crushed.
They won a game. Like they're there. They did lose Cooper Cup, so that's a problem. Now, granted, I don't know why Cooper Cup went from being the greatest receiver of all time to never getting the ball anymore.
Because
I don't know
Puka Nakua.
why that happens in the NFL sometimes. It's called the Hunter Renfro story, but it's strange. But Devontae Adams is a different receiver than Cooper Cup, also. So I if he still has it in him, why not? I don't
I
know.
think the thing with them is Cooper Cup and Puka Nakua are such similar receivers that
Matter.
they're not like, yeah, but Devontae Adams is a more
No,
deep
I
threat.
know.
He's going to go deep.
I
Cooper
know.
Cup is a guy who will run an out route
I
or
know.
slant, and that's exactly what Puka's doing. So Puka definitely became the
No,
number one receiver, and now I feel like you lose a guy like Cup, but you get Devontae Adams. I feel like they have a more dynamic receiving core now because they have one guy who can go deep downfield and Nakua can do everything else. I actually think they're going to be better.
but you don't. I'm just saying you don't fall off a cliff that fast. I mean, it happens all the time. I don't know why.
Well, he was injury prone. I mean, they could be catching up with him. He might not be getting the separation that he used
Well,
to
you
on the
just got
routes,
to
but
deal
I
with
don't
it.
know.
We're gonna find out. I bet he has a resurgence.
Yeah, he's going to Seattle with our guy. So we'll see if anything can happen there. I mean, do you think he'll have any more success than he did when he came back at the end of last season, Joe, in Seattle than he did with LA?
Oh, I
Cooper Cup.
yeah, no, I thought for a second we are talking Sam. No,
No.
I think he's still a great receiver. He's not going to be a number one there. Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be the number one now that Metcalf's gone. And he should be because he's a great receiver. But I think Cooper is a dynamic secondary guy now at this point in his career where he can make a lot of the under routes and he's going to open things up for Sam when the deep ball's not in play. So I do think that he can be I think he can be successful there. It'll be interesting to see because he hasn't played. Traditionally, he's been an indoor guy now with the Rams playing, most of his games in a dome. Now he's going to play in Seattle, a little bit more inclement weather. It'll be interesting to see how he does there, but I think he'll still be very solid. I was hoping the Packers were going to make a run for him because I think he'd be a perfect guy for Green Bay with their set of receivers and who they have to bring in a veteran guy like that who's won a Super Bowl, who knows what it takes. But the Packers, as always, just don't fucking go and do anything. It's so fucking annoying.
Yeah, you were talking about that for a while. You wanted Cooper Kupp since free agency started. So unfortunately
They
it didn't
talk
work out.
about DK Metcalf, but I think a guy like Cooper Kupp, he's a good teammate, right? Like he's not a guy who's like rah rah, throw me the ball. Like he kind of keeps to himself. He's a hard worker. He goes in the trenches. He'll take a big hit, hold on to the ball, and like he's a guy that you want to have on your team. So like that was a guy that I thought would be perfect for Jordan Love and his progression into a more
Yeah.
seasoned quarterback. But
He is
ah,
unfortunately a little injury prone, and you already have one of those guys in Christian Watson. So
that guy's a glass man.
yeah, he sure is. All right, and a few other notable moves, well, guys staying put is Myles Garrett stays with the Browns, signs an extension there. Josh
Miles,
Allen, yeah,
Miles, I want to win a championship. Garrett stays with the Browns.
He's my problem, to be honest. If
Whoa,
we're gonna
whoa, whoa.
he's your
I'm going to
problem.
say it right now. He's going to be
Okay,
my problem of the week because he's a guy who said, I want to win. You
yeah,
go on the record. You say, I want to win. I played. I've given everything I have to this franchise as much as I have. I want to contend for a Super Bowl. I want to be able to be in a position where I can win. And I feel like there's merit in that because the guy has worked his ass off year in, year out. He's been one of the best players in the NFL, and he's given that franchise everything and more. But your word looks so pathetic. If you go out and say you want to win, and then a team just throws a fucking kitchen sink at you, and then all of a sudden that winning and all that thing that you said that was so important to you before no longer plays a field, and you just go and sign with the same team that you've been with, that you were willing to leave it for to begin with. So I don't know if that's his way of trying to get out of Cleveland to go and get a better contract somewhere else. And then Cleveland just threw such a great deal at him that he couldn't do it. But like your words got to mean something. And nowadays with athletes, they say one thing, and then the next 2 weeks later down the road, it's like, oh, that doesn't mean anything. And the guy takes a bag and he's going to stay in Cleveland. He's not going to win. They're not going to win anytime soon. They're not set up to be a Super Bowl winning team. So how important is winning compared to making money?
But he would have gotten a bag from anyone. Maybe the Browns could give him the most. It's possible he just said that as leverage to
That's
scare,
what I'm thinking.
yeah.
I figure that's what he said, but like
which
you
is
look,
fine, but it's a sacrifice he makes because now his reputation is that he's full of shit. But this is
imagine the Jet saying to the YouTube community, I want to leave Bob to Sports to be with a channel of guys who know how to golf and play good golf. And then we threw a bag at him and like well, I'm not trying to give him any ideas,
Well,
but then all of a sudden, like he's just right back watching us hosel rocket and shank and duff shots, like hole after hole. Like it takes away from the merit of what you're saying, and like I don't know, man. What do you agree, Ticket? Do you understand what I'm saying?
everyone's word has a price, though. I do
No.
agree. I mean, you get enough money tossed your way, and you know what? I'll take back some of the things I used to say too.
But
I
how much money more could the Browns give him than a different
Then a
team?
different team. Yeah, well, I mean, it's possible that the Browns gave him some sort of deal other than just monetary. Like maybe, he has something involved with the Browns. Maybe they're going to let him have more say over a certain thing. I don't know. Who knows? But it is a tough look though to go out and say that and then just go. But you know what? A year from
Moving him
now,
back to
no one's going
Baltimore.
to remember that. No one's going to be
No.
talking about what Myles Garrett used to say. He's going to be sitting there with more money than
But
almost everyone else.
do you think if he went to a team and won a Super Bowl for his Hall of, I mean, he's probably going to be a Hall of Famer no matter what, but for his legacy and for his career and for how it looks, I do think that when you win a Super Bowl or Super Bowls, it does help add to like your overall legacy as a player.
Sure.
Yeah, it
Guys
depends.
don't
Some of
care
these
about
guys
that.
don't care about legacy
It
the way
used
other
to.
guys do.
It used to.
Well,
There
he
was a
apparently
phase.
did 2 weeks ago.
There was
Yeah,
a phase where it was like, oh, how many? It's very possible he went out and they tested the market and they were like, yeah, nobody's going to pay you what the Browns are going to pay you. And then he's like, all right, I'm back in Cleveland, Cleveland Heights.
If you're a Cleveland Browns fan and the guy issues that statement, says he wants to go and he's done, and then he comes back, does that disdain or does that stain your feeling for him as a player on your team? Does that change anything, or are you just like, all right, they gave
Um,
him a lot of money and he's back?
it's not like he said anything about the fans. Like I don't think so. I think he very well could be like, all right, well now I get the money and they're going to make other moves and we're going to be a contender here. I don't know. It's not as bad as some stuff, other stuff that's been said about.
sure.
That's fair, but I just feel like he was ready to move on from the team.
Problem.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, listen, I think the fans, if anyone does have an issue with it, the second he has a 3-sack game, probably in week 1, they're going to be like,
Fair enough.
all right,
I just
that's
thought he
fine.
was it was between him and Paul George is my problem of the week, and
Oh, I
he.
would love to hear hey, when we get to the segment, why don't you bring Paul George back around? I'd love to hear that one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was my other one, but yeah.
All right.
Podcast Pete.
By the way, Sam Darnold, friend of the program, going to Seattle. We love
Yeah.
to see it. Got a great deal. And Josh Allen, another friend of the program, signing a massive mega deal.
Yeah.
Kyle Allen got a deal
Go to
too.
Butter Sports, get paid.
Kyle Allen, all three of them.
Kyle Allen to Detroit, go to Butter Sports, get paid.
Yeah. Listen, man, if Geno Smith had come on the show, maybe he wouldn't find himself in Las Vegas with the Raiders. That team ain't going anywhere, and they certainly aren't
they
with
lost
Geno Smith.
Devontae and fucking.
Oh, that team's. I mean, you want to talk about a pit to rot in. It's
Well,
awesome.
Max Crosby's going to rot in there with as much money as he could possibly ever want.
in between UFC events.
And blackjack tables with Dana White.
Sure. See, some guys care about that more than legacy. Some guys are like, you know what, the legacy I'm creating is generational wealth.
Sure.
It's
I mean,
not the legacy of what I do on the gridiron.
Would you be down to make
I
hundreds of
think
millions of dollars, Pop?
Would I be down to do what?
Would you be down to make hundreds of millions of dollars and live in Las Vegas and just chill?
Oh, of course. I mean, I would prefer not to live in Vegas, but if I had to, yeah, I would, of course.
The fans want the players to care as much as they do, and you would think that's how it should be, but it's just not. Like,
Yeah.
these players are this is their job, this is their livelihood. They're earning as much money as they can to provide. And like, as a fan, you're like, why doesn't he want to win like I do? And it's like, well, some guys do. Some guys care about that. Especially, but a lot of guys are just like, and rightfully so. It's an annoying thing for some fans to like be able to handle that.
Yeah, true. All right, before we move on to who's a problem, maybe we'll cut this. I don't know. Mr. Anderson wrote this one little thing here. He said
I have one
it's dangerous.
about a guy who's
like you're asking a rag
underperformed.
on somebody.
I'll give you one.
All right,
I
well,
got
let's see
mine.
how. Okay, if Joe's got one, we'll see.
Well,
Let me just
well,
introduce
introduce
it
the
here.
segment,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. What athlete is in the Hall of Fame for making a ton of money but not for doing much? So, an example would be Chase Daniel made nearly 42 million in his career, but pretty much was a backup the entire time. You got one,
I
Joe?
got one
Okay.
who, I mean, sometimes, it takes everything to fall into place for you to be a successful athlete in the NFL. And then other times it's like there are certain guys, and this is one of them, who everything just fell into this guy's place. And somehow everywhere he went, every time he went somewhere, they just threw the bag at him. One Kirk Cousins is probably, for what he's done in terms of maybe winning 1 or 2 playoff games his entire career, has made more money than any guy that you could ever know. And it started with Robert Griffin III blowing his fucking ACL out so that Kirk Cousins was able to come onto a team that he had no business being the starter on. And then from that point forward has weaseled his way into bamboozling fucking franchise after franchise. Now, is he a good quarterback? Does he have the pizzazz to rack up stats? And he's a likable guy and he wears the chains and he's fun loving. Yes. Is he worth making? Like, if you look at the career earnings of Kirk Cousins, it is astounding how much money this guy has made. And for what the last couple of years he's been either horrific or hurt or not able to finish seasons, or when he does make the playoffs, when he did with the Vikings, he just absolutely implodes. So like I'm not hating on Kirk Cousins. I happen to think the guy's a fun dude, but like the amount of money he has made compared to like what some of these other quarterbacks are out there doing, it to me is this guy is a first ballot person for this segment.
Okay. All right. I mean, that guy has played a lot though, at least. Like
Yeah.
he's been out there playing. Like
You want to know his career earnings
no, I
ticket?
understand that it doesn't make sense for
350
what
or
he's
something, right?
done, but
They're like
I
400
guess that's
million.
the segment, but
I'll give you one.
okay.
This is just off the top of my head. Do you remember when Matt Flynn signed that deal with Seattle?
Oh, yeah.
He
Yeah, that's a
came in,
great
right?
one.
He backed up Aaron Rodgers, right, for like an hour and a half, and then he signed this deal with Seattle and never played. And it was
So here we go.
No, that's a
Kirk
great one, Jay. That's a good
Cousins,
one.
that is a good one. Kirk Cousins has made almost the same amount of money as Tom Brady. He has
yeah.
made $331.6 million over his career, and Tom Brady over 23 years made $332 million. Only a $400,000 more than Kirk Cousins. And that
Yeah.
is the greatest quarterback of all time.
They
Yeah.
play. I mean,
But he
the
did
money gets
play though.
higher as the
Do you
years
know
go.
who else, Jet, as well as Flynn was around the same time was Matt Castle.
Oh,
Yeah, he
Matt
played though.
Castle, he did, but he really made that huge amount of money for playing like 6 or 7 games for the Patriots when Tom
When
Brady
Brady was
was in.
out. Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
yeah.
he made a bag with who was it, the
Chiefs.
Vikings? The
Chiefs.
Chiefs, the Chiefs, the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Another
sometimes it
guy,
just takes one good season
well, yeah, you talk about a guy
or a
like
good preseason.
Carson Wentz is another one. I mean,
Oh
he played a
my.
little bit. He had that great season, and then he got hurt, and we won the Super Bowl
He
without
got
him.
signed after that.
But
He
he
got
made a bag, and then he's been a backup. I think he was a third string for a while. I think he was on a practice squad for a
What
while.
about
Now I think he's with the Colts,
what
maybe.
about a one Daniel Jones?
That's a good one. I mean, he,
God, man.
Oh
that is a
my
decent one.
God. Some quarterbacks, for some reason, they just get paid. It doesn't even matter like how bad they are. They just get paid.
Yeah. And then if you go to baseball, you know, a guy who was close, and now he redeemed himself. But Chris Sale was on track to be one of those guys too. He just, whenever he played, he was electric. But then he just would be hurt. The Red Sox got absolutely screwed by this guy. He didn't play at all for them.
Teddy was pissed.
Yeah, but you know he's redeemed himself. He's a Cy Young winner, so he's not there. But he was very close. All right, let's move on to who's a problem. Joe, I know you did yours, but I want to circle back to Paul George, but we'll finish up with you. I'll go, and then we'll go to Jet. I'm gonna go with JJ Spawn. Okay, JJ Spawn is my problem. All
Wow.
right. This
Oh,
guy, I mean,
Pop.
I get it. What was he? He before the tournament, he was what, 52nd in the world? I get it. You're going up against the number 2 guy. That's a tough thing.
He
But when
played
you
great that whole
show, he
tournament.
did, but when you show up to a playoff against Rory McIlroy, I don't know if this guy didn't sleep. Maybe he had a few beers the night before. If his caddy was fucking with him, if the wind was. But this guy, Rory didn't even play lights out
Shot one
playoff
over.
golf. He shot one over. And then even on 18, he
Or he
still had a
shot
shot.
one over.
Yeah,
One over on 3 holes.
on
He
3
I
holes.
bogeyed
turned it off though, but he birdied the first.
he birdied the
Yeah,
first,
but
then
then
he bogeyed the second, he bogeyed 17,
He
and then he
three
then he
putted
par.
17.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah, he
turned it
did.
off once he put it
It
on
was
the.
on the collar on his first shot, his birdie putt. He missed it, and then so he was even going into the last hole, and he bogeyed 18. So he went
Yeah.
one over and still won by 3 strokes.
And so even going into 18, it was a long shot, but Rory tees off. He sends it into the fucking fans, man. He sends it into the pine straw way right. And so Spawn, if he birdies this hole, I mean, there's a small possibility, and he follows Rory and sends it even further right. I mean, this guy was not in
It was
it
awful.
at all. And he puts one in the water in 17. He hadn't been in the water the first 4 days. I mean, talk about a guy who just mentally couldn't get it
I put
together
a tweet
Monday
out
morning.
yesterday, Tick. I put a tweet out saying that I could have, like, obviously joking, saying I could have done better going up there, and I got fucking flamed on X. But like, it almost seemed like that. It was like the guy was like, "This guy is tied for the fucking lead." Like this guy looked like he couldn't make a shot.
Bro, I was saying to myself on 18, so I said that he hit it way right after Rory did, and then his next shot, he topped the ball. He topped it, and it went like 15 yards. I was like, oh my God, I've seen Bob play like he was playing like Bob does sports golf.
Bro,
I did
It
the
was
same thing, except
insane.
on 18, I went over there and I tried to fucking chip out and I went in the water, but at least I didn't
Right.
top it.
Yeah. I just couldn't believe what I was witnessing from a PGA pro. I mean, 52nd in the world is still, I mean, that's amazing. And I mean, I was just looking for, forget the bet. I was just looking for some sort of competitiveness. This guy made the 3-hole playoff. I mean, it was
It
just
was
Rory
awful.
cakewalked. He didn't have to do anything.
Once he put his shot in the water on 17, Rory was going to have
Yeah.
like a 3-stroke lead. It was over. Like
Yeah.
Rory was like putting for bogey on 18 and he was laughing because he knew it was over. Like it
Yeah.
was
So
a
I mean,
joke.
he was guaranteed second in the Players Major tournament. He played great the first 4 days. He played amazingly. So, but just you got to show up to the playoff with a little bit more tenacity, mental fortitude than that. So,
That being said, he put us in a position where we all could have hedged
yeah,
and made a
yeah,
bunch of money, and he
sure.
did what we needed him to do, and we're the
So
idiots.
the real problem's us, actually.
Oh,
The real
we're a
problem.
massive problem. I put a
Sure.
video out yesterday on Instagram saying I might be one of the dumbest to ever do it. And the crazy thing is, I had 3 of you other idiots right there with me. We all did the
Bro,
same shit.
I bet you Miles Garrett hedged.
Probably did with that big contract he got.
No, even if he's hedging, we got problems.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Jed, who's your problem this week?
I'm gonna go with. I've said this before. It's not. I'm
No.
not going with. Listen, I'm not going with brackets or people who make brackets, but I'm going with people who talk about their brackets. Because, no offense, and with all due respect, not only do I not give a fuck about your bracket, nobody gives a fuck about your
Well,
bracket.
Warren Buffett cares.
But he doesn't care either. And it's very similar to fantasy football. No one gives a fuck about your team. No one gives a fuck about your bracket. Just play the fucking thing, make your bracket, ride it out. And at the end, be like, I won or I lost. I don't need to hear about it. I can't stand when somebody's like, oh, this is my 12-2. I hit all the fucking the 12-6. Like, stop. I'm done with brackets. I'm not doing this here. It's very simple. I never do brackets, but I don't want to hear about the brackets.
Well, I guess we're not getting him in on the Sportsman bracket.
I'll do a bracket. I'll do a bracket with you guys, even though I never do. But I don't need to have this back and forth daily about who's winning. And I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
Here's the thing that I will agree with you on this, or same thing as fantasy football, which some guys like Bob, for example, will be so into fantasy football that he won't even make a bet on a team where he has a guy that he needs to do well.
Yeah.
And I kind of respect it, but like for me, my perception is like if I'm only putting $100 on a fantasy football league for the whole year, and I have a way bigger bet on the game,
I agree.
like what are we doing? I'm not going to cheer for my fantasy over a bet that I have placed, which will win me so much more money than to me, it's crazy. But there are guys who really get into it. So
Yeah,
I see your point, Jed, and I completely agree.
I think some people just want to beat their friends, maybe.
I think that's it.
That's got to be a lot to it. But I'm past that. I don't.
And also when you play
I'm in front of that. I don't know.
I think there's also a part that's like there's like a small lottery aspect to it. Like it's a real long shot, but people like trying to get everything right. And it's like I don't know. There's something to it that feels like you're not going to do it. You're not going to win. You're certainly not going to get it perfect. But like just that opportunity walking into Thursday, people, it's like betting on a $10,000 favorite to win the Players.
Well, Warren Buffett
Or $10,000
I don't know
dog.
if he's still doing it. He said he would give $1 million out to anyone who gave a perfect bracket. Wasn't it $1 million?
That was a few years ago. Is he still doing that?
I mean, I think he could do it for the rest of his life.
Sure,
He's
he
going to be
probably
okay.
can. All right, Joe, let's move on to you. I want to hear this Paul George thing.
I mean, I feel for you, Tick, because you want to talk about an all glass fucking roster between Embiid and now Paul George. I mean, your entire team is in shambles. And this guy has been the only person who's been injured more consistently than Paul George over the last 5-6 years is a ex-teammate in Kawhi Leonard. This guy is hurt every fucking year, and he wants to be the guy. He wants to go up there and get the ball at the end of the game to make the big play. And he's just always hurt. Now he's got injections into his adductor muscle and his knee is bad. It's just like the guy is a problem. And you know what, Ticket? I rarely will like put my hand up and say, you said this guy from ages ago was not a superstar, and I argued with you on it. Now you were horribly wrong with the Luka Doncic take you took. But this one, you were right, and I will give kudos to you because this guy is and considered an all-star and a superstar in the NBA. But to me, he's like that second tier level where he just will never get to that next level of superstar just because A, he doesn't show up consistently, and B, he's hurt so much that it's like these guys are getting paid so much money, and for what? That's my take.
Okay.
Do you agree though?
Yeah, of course. Paul George could be possibly one of those guys who fucking made a ton of money and just what has he really done? You know? What is he
That's
what is he-
that's half the NBA though.
That's true. That's a good point. That's a good point. All right, or how about Jeremy Lin? Jeremy Lin made a nice bag for 1 month's worth of Knicks
That
basketball.
was the most viral electric month of all time.
That was
That
electric though.
that buzzer beater over the Raptors will forever live in infamy.
Kobe and the Lakers.
Yeah. All right, let's move on here to some viewer questions, then we'll get out of here. First question comes from Ben Sheridan. Classic fuck, marry, kill, sports career. Michael Jordan, Tom Brady, Tiger Woods.
Ooh,
Hang on a
man.
second. Is this
Fuck,
sports
marry, kill.
career or is it everything? Because
I think it's sports career, like their legacy on the court or on the football field or on the golf
to
course.
me,
Who is it? Three?
To me, Tom Brady has had the best sports career out of all of them, just with the amount he's at 7 rings. But like, if you want to talk like aura and like all that shit, it's MJ.
Yeah, I think you're factoring in aura. I think you're factoring.
Oh, they
I'm
are
ki-
factoring in aura.
Well,
I'd kill Tom
I'm
Brady.
gonna tell you that you should. He doesn't say
then,
aura
then,
here.
then I'm gonna marry MJ. Oh
Oh
man,
wow, Tiger.
This is a really tough
I'd
one.
probably bang Tiger.
Kill Tom.
I just think
Yeah, I think Tom's the
yeah,
odd
that
man
is
out
tough.
there.
But Tiger, imagine like being Tiger Woods for like a couple days back then
Yeah.
in the peak.
I will marry Tiger Woods.
Oh,
I think he had the most dominant stretch of all time. Like, I mean, for about a decade, he was like the main guy. And I understand Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. But Tiger Woods, you could argue, had a more dominant impact on golf than Michael Jordan has. Michael Jordan is just like with the Jordan brand and everything else around it is just the biggest superstar of all time. But Tiger Woods, there was a while where you thought he was going to win every single tournament he ever played. Like, it was unbelievable.
But you
So,
could say that about Tom Brady too, where he's like, you never thought the Patriots weren't going to win the Super Bowl. You thought they were
But
going to win
he-
every year.
yeah, but he did lose. He did lose Super Bowls. He lost
That's
twice.
true. Tiger
He
did
lost,
lose.
he lost, and he lost to Eli. He had lost 3 Super Bowls. He lost to Eli twice, and he
Lost
lost
to
to
Eagles.
a one big dick Nick.
Yes, he did.
So
Yeah,
I definitely think as good as Brady is, he's the odd man out here. I would fuck Michael Jordan. That'd be a hell of a night. And then I think that Tiger Woods is the guy I'm going down the aisle with.
everything into. I'm taking like off the like Tigers had us. I don't know. It's a really good question.
Mine is a cold take. That's a great question, though.
That
Those are
is.
3 unbelievable athletes and the best to ever do it in their relative sports.
Yeah, I think I'm going to marry Tiger too. I think I'm going to marry him. I know.
I
mean,
just think everybody's going to normally take Michael, but I do think if I look at Tiger, it's like,
I didn't see it, but I believe you, Michael.
you could say, do you think
Michael's a problem
think
because
did-
he's going to gamble away the money that you make on that wedding. He's going to gamble it all away.
Here's a good question. Who do you think did more for Nike? Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods?
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan? Okay.
I mean, the
All right.
Jordan brand is bigger than Nike almost.
It's true. That's a good point. All right. It's fair. Those 2 guys combined though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where
Basketball is so much. I think basketball is bigger. MJ was like the pioneer of all that stuff. So he
true.
made room for the Tigers. I think
That's true. All right, moving on to Tyler Cherubin. If you could host a podcast with one single person for the rest of your life, who would it be?
I like who we have right here.
All right. Well, that's nice. But I mean, you can pick anybody in the whole world.
I mean, I feel like who would be fun to run podcasts with. And I actually grown on this guy a lot. I think he's hysterical. I love Theo Vaughn. I think like going in to like run a podcast with him every day or every week. Like you don't know what you're gonna get with him, what kind of wild story, or like he'll just go off on a tangent sometimes. And I think he's hysterical. So like, you got the Joe Rogans of the world, but I think Theo Vaughn would be a lot of fun to fucking
A
run.
podcast with you and Theo Vaughn would be wild.
He would have you in a pretzel, dude. Like your brain wouldn't work.
But he'd get a huge kick out of you. You guys would be great together. That'd be hilarious.
I mean, it'd be a lot of fun. I'd have so many questions for him, man.
Oh, and trust me, he'd have a lot for you too, pal.
That one, my favorite clip of him is that Cat Williams Black Nutcracker thing that he was saying with what's his name? Drewski, where he's showing that he thought it was a cat. Did you see that video during Christmas time? He thought it was a black Cat Williams, and it's just really a black Nutcracker who looks exactly like Cat Williams. And Drewski's like, that's the most racist shit I ever heard, man. It's hysterical, bro. I was in tears.
Theo Vaughn's out of control, dude.
All right, Jay, who are you going with?
I can I go solo? I'll just talk to myself. I don't.
Jesus,
Wow.
man. There's not one person that
I mean,
you
I'm
want-
trying. I'm thinking about podcasts. I'm thinking about like people, and I'm thinking like I like doing it with you guys. I don't know.
This would be fun to do.
I was gonna
too.
say Ryan Whitney would be. He's
Yeah,
fucking
either of those guys.
hysterical.
Yandel, all those guys.
And I don't know how he is on mic, but another guy that came to mind was, dude, Sam Darnold is one of the funniest
Oh.
people I've
Oh, yes.
ever.
Yeah.
He is hysterical.
I don't know if you guys are fans of him too, but I really like Andrew Santino and his podcast. I think he's hysterical. And I think you got to be with someone who you just kind of keeps you on your toes, right? Like someone who you don't know what you're going to get week to week, who can bring some humor and make it fun. That's what it's all about.
Sure is. All right, one more quick one, and then we'll get out of here. This one's for Joe. This one comes from CK Guy. Does Joe wear socks with sandals? Do you, Joe?
Sometimes I do. Now it depends. If they're like slides, I'm a big fan of wearing socks with
true.
slides,
Yes.
especially like if you go to the airport. I think like I started doing this more often, and I know Jet's a big fan of doing it too. I wear
Not
like the
anymore.
Lulu, well, not anymore, but you were for a while. But the Lululemon slides are some of the most comfortable ones you wear, and if you get like a good, by the way, elite socks, I think the best socks in the game are the FootJoy Pro Dry socks. I'm in on them. I used to be like a Nike socks guy. The FootJoy, I'll get you guys a pair. They're unbelievable. The Pro Dry FootJoy socks are so good and comfortable. You rock those with the Lululemon slides. If you're going to like an airport or something, it's a fucking elite play. Also, too, I have some of the most ugly feet that you'd ever see. So like, I'm not a big component of wearing sandals out in the open. Unless they're like, if they're like flip-flops or something like that, then yeah, sure. But what I did get recently, Tick, and tell me if you like this, is I got like a really high-end, like those Italian, like the leather black sandals that you could wear that like dress up an outfit. I got a pair. I spent way too much money on it. It's ridiculous. I've only worn them twice, but they're elite and they're like high-end Italian leather, like Hermes sandals, and they're nice. But my toes are so bad that I don't like to wear sandals that much.
I tell you what, back in the day, though, the Adidas slides, like
Yeah,
back, you'd go
the one with the little cushions on them,
correct.
Like the little balls that
Those were incredible, dude. With some high socks or some mid-level socks, like some Nike socks, maybe you do a little collab there. That was a great look.
Jay, you used to rock the high socks with slides, but I haven't seen it recently.
I started thinking that going to the airport in like slides, those slides are respectable in my opinion. Like slides. So maybe I'll bring it back. Also, the slides. Yeah, I socks with slides are totally fine by me. I used to walk, when you play like pickup ball and everybody would walk in with slides and socks. And like
That's correct.
Yeah, that. So I love
Yes.
that. I love that. I wish I could bottle that up and do that anyway. But I do like if I'm just like going to like somewhere real quick, I'll put slides on and socks and
Do you still have those Lululemon slides? The black
wearing them
ones
right
are
now.
nice.
Wearing
They're
right
great.
now. They're the
Poppy,
best.
we got to get you all. We got to be the slide.
And they're
bros.
not
I
expensive.
know, I gotta get 'em.
They're an incredible gift. Like because they're kind of thoughtful because like nobody thinks to get slide, but you get like these nice ones. They're incredibly thoughtful.
It was one of the few times I got a gift that I was like, I think Jet's gonna really like this, and he did. Like he was wearing them like the next day, and I was like,
I'm
there's
still
nothing
wearing them,
better.
dude.
There's nothing better, I will say, than getting a gift for somebody that you don't know. It's like kind of like a shot in the dark. Like I got Bob that New York Yankees hoodie, and I was like, he's either gonna love it or he's not gonna wear it. And like that same day that we were driving down to Jacksonville, he like was wearing it. There's
Yeah.
nothing better than like getting a gift for somebody and knowing that it was like something that was appreciated
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
and used.
Sure, absolutely. All right, that's going to do it for another episode of The Sportsman. We'll be back next week talking March Madness as that gets underway
Wow.
just in a few days here. But until then, guys, it was always fun. Benny, Joe, see you guys next week.
Boys.
See you guys.